Is it possible that Tariq can be just one mistake away from losing it all but doesn't realize it as yet? I caught on to a very predictable power pattern that happened in this episode that I don't think anyone else realized that you need to see. My theory is that Tariq is going to end up. What's going on, everyone? Just be here, and I'm breaking down the latest episode of Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4 Episode 4 titled The Reckoning. The acting in this episode by certain cast members for sure was absolutely incredible, guys. Okay, so let's go, right? We're diving into the best and biggest parts of this episode right now. Let's go. This is a very Tejada family-centric episode, even though Tariq and Brayden do play a key part in it. We pick up with Tariq and Brayden talking with Monet and Kane in her dorm room about how they need to take out Diana and Drew, who are now trying to hide out from catching the bullets that they have for them. Effie has a minor role in this episode that we can see compared to the last few where she played a little bit more predominantly. She only appears as a voice of reason to Tariq not to trust the Tejadas, and that trust and loyalty isn't something you can always count on in the game. Kane starts getting his soldiers on the lookout for his own brother and sister, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I had an issue with how this is set up and the constant implication of family taking each other out in the Power universe itself. It just doesn't sit right with me. And I didn't like the thought of this happening personally, seeing a mother pursue her kids this way. And as the episode went on, I started to understand a little bit better. Now, Drew and Diana are hiding out at a motel, but because Diana paid for the room with a credit card that is tied to the family account, Monet ends up finding them very quickly and confronts them, ready to take the shot. And Drew in this moment begins to make his stand on business and read Monet her rights. I loved it because it was all true. It also reflects and ties into everything she's done and caused them to become as a result of the life. I was convinced in this moment that Drew was a goner when he started giving his speech. Now, everything he said was true, but you know how power goes. You can't be speaking the truth and giving big speeches to characters who are above you. You could feel like that raw emotion and intensity and the pain that his character Drew was going through. Very, very well done. Now, after they manage to get the drop on Monet and get away, Drew drops Diana off to Salim's house, whom we haven't seen since season 3. Now, you know when a character like this, who was already annoying, pops out of nowhere, you know what's going to happen, right? Tariq comes back later trying to find Diana at Salim's, who is on her way out of town with his help. And after a tussle between the two, like I said, we know what happens. So R.I.P. Salim. I'd say you'd be missed, but you were that annoying looking character that nobody really liked, to be honest. Now, because Tariq is off his game, so focused on the other situation, he doesn't clean up the shooting himself. So I would say let's look for that to come back to bite him in the butt sooner rather than later, particularly with the law enforcement hot on his tail. Now, with Drew and Kane, the acting between these two in this scene was incredible. It's like now I can feel that emotional culmination of their stories coming together, such as like Lorenzo picking Drew over Kane to run the family business, which I don't think we ever really truly got confirmation on why that was. But he also makes him realize how Kane's loyalty to Monet is blinding him from the fact that she took their father from them, and how Monet always mistreats Kane even though she needs him, and he keeps going back. There's a very recurring theme in this episode in particular, even between Kane and Noma, where he is constantly being challenged in this area of his loyalty towards his mother. Drew questions Kane on whether or not he cares about their father being gone, and we see the hurt and the pain for the very first time in Kane's eyes that he's been carrying around probably for many, many years. And it was in this moment, really watching the scene between them, I started to say to myself, guys, I'm really gonna miss this show when it's gone. I used to clown on it on the early days, but we've come so far and I can see it now and appreciate it even all the more. Kane tells Drew that this is all he knows, right? Is the game. That's the life. That's all he knows. And all he wanted was his father's respect and to see that he can protect the family. And Monet robbed him of that opportunity, but he still didn't try. to take her out because of that, is what he tries to communicate. In the moment, Drew ends up getting the drop again, but this time on Kane, and takes off. So now we got Tommy 2.0, aka Brayden.
I see what you're doing.
Who is now using the cocoa more and more. And this time we see him boot up in bed with Elle as he breaks down the plan on how they'll move weight at the parties and concerts that he's going to put together for her band. She goes along with the plan, but in exchange, she wants them to keep it a secret that she just wants a little bit of the cocoa on the low from their supply. Elle and Brayden together are going to be a problem for sure, in my opinion. And so they're trying to keep this part of the deal away from Tariq. And so we see things starting to get stacked up, and these guys just made a pact that they wouldn't do that again. So I think it's going to be an issue for her being in the picture. But what do you guys think? Personally, Elle's striking me as a little bit of a cocoa head, and so usually those kinds of characters don't last too long. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. On the law enforcement side of things, we got Kamal Tate and Detective Carter who get into it at the precinct when discussing the best way to go about pursuing the leads that they have. Kamal wants to use what they have as more of a low-hanging fruit, which is to pursue Zion, who Roman confesses is the main connect. They have a disagreement about it, and Detective Carter pretty much lays down the law threateningly and tells Kamal not to cross him. But what Kamal doesn't know is that Detective Carter has a bigger bone to pick with Tariq because of what presumably happened with his wife, but also what happened with Paz's son, Junior. Now, with this continuous appearance of Kamal Tate, it's not long before his brother, Congressman Tate, reappears, who we haven't seen since the season 3 finale. But I also have a suspicion that Kamal is very vulnerable to getting played by Tariq and taken out if he's not careful. And if that happens, I believe that will inevitably bring on another turn of events that I will say here will likely end with Tariq in prison at the end of this show. So if you guys want to know what my theory is, that's the theory. I could be dead wrong, but I see a lot of signs and patterns pointing in that direction. Detective Carter puts a plan in motion to get them to have Tariq or Monet flip on the other by seeding the info that they have on an eyewitness who places Tariq at the scene of Monet's shooting. So it seems that it's only a matter of time. And Detective Carter confronts Monet with how well he knows the layout of everything that they got going on in the city, and also begins planting his seeds in her to get her to flip. Now, Monet in this moment, she doesn't seem to flinch, but to be honest, Mary J. Blige never really expresses much of anything, in my opinion. But I'll leave that alone. On to Kane and Noma. You can see she's now starting to groom him after their rendezvous to become the next OB, her right-hand man. We also see in this episode where Noma visits Davis to get intel on how she can acquire certain government contracts to help her further her business. She ends up using Kane to accompany her to a party to make a play on the aid of the contact in which she's trying to connect with. Hold on real quickly. You guys want to see something crazy? Over 99% of you guys that watch my content are not subscribed. So I'm asking real quickly, if you don't mind, just hit the like button and hit subscribe real quickly. I'd love to keep on giving this content to you guys, and lets me know that people actually are interested. Feel free to do that, man. Really appreciate it a lot. Would help me out a long way in growing my small channel. Thanks. Now back to the video. So even though he started to do it successfully, he ends up bailing eventually when he gets intel on Drew and Diana's whereabouts. He ends up finding Drew again, and in the nick of time, Monet tells him to stand down. Now, this takes us to Power Book 6, The Come Up. That's what I'm calling it. It's not actually a show, guys, but they seem to be flashbacking a lot into this period of time. Now, I understand why they're doing it. I don't necessarily think it may just be to set up a spin-off, but it's certainly to maybe turn the character of Monet Tejada around by giving us more context into her backstory. But they could still be setting up a spin-off. You never know these guys. We see her and a young Drew, but this time Monet is now being played by Mary in this flashback sequence. But this is back to when they were earlier on in the game, and we can see his resistance even back then to being in the life. He's going with her on a run, and when it turns sideways, Drew had to hop in and take out the guy who was attacking his mother. So being that young and having to do things like this shows why he has such a resentment towards her. But the crazy thing is, she taught him specifically that anyone that comes for them to take them out. And in present day, she now realizes that she said this to him back then, and also how life comes full circle. Now, in a standoff between Tariq, who goes to take out Diana after he discovers her at Salim's parents' place, and the reason he's doing this is pretty much she would have double or triple crossed him when they had the plan to take out Monet, who in that moment bursts in and saves Diana and calls a truce with everyone, to which Tariq learns that she is pregnant with his child. So we can now see Tariq here with his look on his face, unsure of what to do or say. He runs off and finds himself at one of the underground parties that Brayden sets up for Elle's band for them to move weight. Now, he sets his eyes surprisingly on Anya Covington, who is, as we know, Noma's daughter.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
And makes a play for her over drinks and begins to set up his next plan in motion. But what will that be exactly? You guys gotta let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section. I don't really know the direction that they're gonna head with this whole Diana and Tariq thing and the baby.
That is not my baby.
Do you think the pregnancy is actually going to come to full fruition? Do you think she's still going to get taken out? I do want to hear your theories on it for sure. So let me know inside the comment section, because this is a big question mark in my mind. Something else. But ultimately, I'm probably feeling a little bit sappy because I know we're heading to the mid-season finale, and that means we're almost out of episodes for this show. But I do have a strong belief, I want to iterate again, that Tariq's going to end up in prison by the end of the show. And this time it won't be for a short stint. In my spare time, I actually write scripts, and I start to create a story for Power that I'm in the process of making a video for, of pretty much that recaps an alternative ending to the original show. And one of the things which happens is this same scenario in which Tariq ends up in prison. And I'm seeing a lot of things pointing in that direction with what I was kind of writing as well and making a video for. So that's what I'm seeing. But guys, overall amazing episode. Fantastic acting. Shout out to Lavelle Adams Gray. Shout out to Woody McClain. Killing it, man. Just absolutely killing it. I love the season. The hype and the wait was totally worth it. If you guys got any value from my breakdown, consider liking and subscribing, man. Would love to have you part of the Beat Crew. Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments, guys. I might do a live stream for the mid-season finale so we can all talk about it live. Until next time, peace.